Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I am Cherono. So today I'll be taking you through the very important step of the K1 visa process, which is filing for the I-129F. Before I go further into the video, I'd like to highlight that I am not an immigration lawyer and neither am I an immigration expert. I will just be taking you through what my fiance and I did in our K1 visa process. So what does this filing for the I-129F mean? So basically, this is an opportunity for you and your fiancé to prove that your relationship is real, it's bona fide, it's legitimate. What normally happens is that the US citizen who is going to be named as the petitioner, he or she will be filing this form called I-129F with the USCIS, the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. They will be filing this form together with important documentation and attachments that will help justify and give more validity of your relationship. So like from what I've just explained, it's going to require most of the heavy lifting from the petitioner, who is going to be the United States citizen. In our particular example, I was the beneficiary. I am from Kenya, and so it was my then fiance who was petitioning for me to come and join him in the United States. The encouraging bit about this entire process in our experience is that we did not work with any lawyer. We had no RFEs. RFE is when the USCIS reaches out to the petitioner, reaches out to you, requesting for additional information, meaning that what you have shared with them, be it your details, be it the proof of your relationship, seems insufficient for them to continue processing your application. So in our case, everything went on seamlessly with no RFEs. Before filing for the I-129F form with the USCIS, my fiance and I we established first off that we were eligible to apply for this K1 visa, or to apply for this whole process. How did our checklist look like? One, the petitioner, who was my then fiance, is a US citizen, which is a very important requirement. Secondly, is that both of us intended to get married the moment, upon my arrival to the United States. We both were intending to get married within 90 days as per the stipulations. Thirdly, both of us were eligible and available to get married. What does this mean? This means that we were single, available in the market. We didn't have any previous marriages, but just to mention that if you have any previous marriages, in your case, either one of you or both of you, as long as there is evidence to support the nullification, or there's a divorce decree, something from the courts to show that your previous marriage or marriages are nullified, then that's good. It means you're eligible to get married, and you will be required to attach the divorce filings with your application. Another important check for us was to make sure that we had met at least once within 2 years before filing for this I-129F. And like I had mentioned in my previous video, we met in April, and then the following month in May, that's when my then fiance filed for the I-129F petition. Another important check or requirement for us was that we were able to meet was that my then US fiance met the financial requirement. This financial requirement has been well elaborated in the USCIS site, so you can just go in there and double check based of the income of the US petitioner, if he or she is eligible to sponsor a foreign fiancé to be with him under this process. Let's now go to the main event, which is filing for the I-129F. Like I mentioned earlier, this is where you are backing up your claims that you are an actual and a real relationship. You will provide everything that you have, everything. Don't leave out anything, go under your bed, everywhere. Just use everything you've got to prove that your relationship is real. The stakes are so high. We used the online service called the Citizen Path Online Immigration Services. I will leave the link down below. You pay a bit of a fee. In our own experience, we needed to be so careful because this document, the I-129F, has about 13 pages, and in these pages you are filling in very key important information about the petitioner, about the beneficiary, both the fiancés, and so it's important to just be as accurate as you can be. We didn't trust our writing. We didn't trust that we would, like my fiancé didn't trust that he would be able to write, because it's easy for you to write something on a piece of paper and then need to edit it. And so what this online site does, it allows you to fill in this form electronically. And it also gives you, like sometimes when you're filling out the form and you're not so sure how to put in the answer, there are like question marks where you click on it, and then it gives you a more elaborate explanation as to what that question is looking for. And so for people like us, ordinary people who didn't know how to go about it in some of the questions, it just gives you a more detailed explanation until you're like, this is what this means, this is what it means. So it's like having a teacher to teach you without that teacher being present with you. So that's why we use it. Another advantage of that site is that once you're done filling out your application and you download it, you have a PDF version. This is very important because you will learn later on in the process that you will require all these details, you will require all this information, which is like your own copy. So you will have retained your own copy that you can use later on, and you can also have it with you when it comes to any more steps that you would need to show how you filed or your filing details from this initial process. So for us, we had at least our own copy that was saved up, and we were able to retrieve it whenever we needed to check out any information, or we needed just to have the entire document with us. Remember, once you have completed filling out your I-129F form, it's very simple. You're just providing in your details. Like your fiancé will provide his or her own details, where he lives, his work history, same to the beneficiary. So that was my case. We had all my information keyed in there, my previous work experience, where I lived, everything about me, my parents' information, his parents' information. These are things we know. So it's just ensuring that we are accurately recording all these details. And once you're done, you'll be required, we were required to print it out, and it's important to sign. There's a section that has been left off for signing, so just make sure that the document or the filing has been signed before you submit it or mail it to the USCIS. We also filled out and printed out the G1145 form. Here are other important documentation that we submitted in addition or together with our I-129F and our G1145F. The petitioner's US birth certificate, the petitioner's valid passport, our intent to marry letters, the petitioner's e-visa to Kenya. Remember, I mentioned that he came to visit me in Kenya, and so before he came to Kenya, he had to apply for a visa, and so that e-visa is a good enough proof to show that he applied to come to Kenya. The petitioner's flight itinerary or flight tickets to Kenya or within Kenya. hotel reservation details. This included also the Airbnb. The good thing with Airbnb reservations was that he made reservations while he was here in the US, and so it clearly shows that and it would show his name, that he made reservation with this specific host in this particular location, and those locations were places that are in Kenya. Also, we attached park entry invoices, receipts, because when we went to the Masai Mara, we slept in this camp, and usually they record in the guests' details and the guests' names. So anything that was either showing my name, his name, or both our names, we included all those pictures taken together, and the pictures that he also took with my family in Kenya. The petitioner's COVID tests conducted both in the US and in Kenya. Remember, this was happening just after the pandemic, so he was required to do the test before flying to Kenya, and after he came to Kenya, before he traveled back, remember the window was about, 48 hours or 72 hours before traveling, you are required to do this COVID test. So he was able to book an appointment with Gertrude's Hospital, which is a hospital that is in Kenya, and with the hospital they key in all the information, and that was evidence enough that he was in Kenya, and he was now traveling back to the US. All our text exchanges from when we initially met in the dating app, on WhatsApp, on email, and good thing with all these exchanges, there is always like a timestamp. It shows you the dates and the times we were having this conversation. So all of them, we printed them all out, and we were able to attach to our packet. The petitioners and the beneficiaries' passport style photo, what that means was that both my passport photo and his passport photo were also added, and our names written down at the back of the photo with a pencil. My Kenyan national ID, my fiancé, who was also the petitioner, wrote a beautiful declaration letter to the USCIS. So in this letter, I remember reading it and I was so emotional. He was now putting more context into everything, that all the attachments that I've listed before. So he was just putting into more context our relationship. He explained how we met. It's like a story. He was writing a story, our love story in short. So he wrote about how we met, how we became boyfriend and girlfriend, and how when he came to Kenya. And so like he was just giving them a story. Like, this is something that you have experienced, so it's easy to just tell it out. It's something that is very custom to you. So he was just giving more details about our relationship. He talked about how he came to Kenya, the things that we did, why he thought that I was special, the things that he loved about me, all the challenges that we faced. I think there was a time we faced a very difficult time with this Airbnb host, and how we navigated that challenge. Like, he wrote all that in that letter. Remember, we were attaching photos, so he was giving more details as to the photos. So it's like, we went to this place, this is what we did, and then he was giving more examples that I liked when she did this, I was so impressed when this happened, and this is when I realized that this is what maybe solidified our relationship. Like, in this letter, it's like you are putting in he put in his heartfelt message, and this is something that if you're thinking, if it's another human who is reading, and definitely there are humans who are reading all these petitions, they would really want to really understand, like, just your story. And it was very touching. I would recommend, if when you're writing this letter, be very vulnerable, be very open, be very detailed, give examples, list situations, talk about your feelings, and go on and on. He wrote about like a 4-page story. I was telling him that he needed to have that published. Maybe later on I can read it out, but it's just giving your story and really insisting and showing them that this is your person, and this is why you love them, and these are the things that we did together, and this is what we enjoyed doing together. Mark you, while you're applying for this process, there are reasons that would make your application to be rejected, and as we were able to look up for such reasons. Some of the reasons were, if one, there is a significant age difference between the couple, as we have an age difference, and so we didn't know if that was going to work against us. But then in this letter, he was giving more context as to why the age difference was something that was not going to work against us. Like we just loved enjoying each other's company, and we both were doing everything physically together. We were having a very good time, and for us, age was nothing but just like a number. Another reason that can make your petition to be very suspicious is if there's like a language barrier. And so in this letter, he was also able to elaborate that I have gone through to school until I have finished my undergrad. I have my bachelor's degree, and in English, and it's our official language, and all my education system was conducted in English. And as you can hear, my English is not so bad. I can tooting my own horn, but yeah, so he was just showing them that we can easily communicate with each other in English, and we can understand one another. Another suspicious thing that will cause a red flag in the application is lack of a common background, or I would say lack of like a common values. And so in this letter, he was able to explain how we were both Christians, we both have the same values, we hold the same opinions when it comes to matters of human rights, when it comes to matters of helping other people in the society. We both love to be able to participate in maybe helping the community, helping the society in one way or another. And you give examples like maybe both of us we were very touched about empowering or supporting people who lack food, and so that's something that we are also willing to continue doing together once we get married. So it's like, hey, this is not going to be a problem for us. Another thing that we knew maybe might be flagged in our application was that we had a very short courtship period. Like, you remember, we met in Feb, or not, we started dating in Feb, we became officially boyfriend and girlfriend in February, and then 2 months later is when he was proposing to me, and that's when we were engaged and became fiancés. But then he did write down quickly, like in his story, how he quickly learned that I was the one for him, based on our conversations, based on how I did specific things. He learned that he was becoming truly attached to me. And even more into the story, when we are even facing things or doing fun things together, which was also very well written in the letter, he will be like, see, that's when like I learned that she's a very easy person to be with, or her sense of humor, she really laughs a lot on my jokes. We just have a good time, and any more time we spend together, that's when we realized that she was just very, very special, despite the short amount of time that we had gotten to know each other. In fact, the more time we spent and how we communicated, it was so effortless. You would think that we have known each other for a very, very long time, and just, putting all the words, putting all the juices, and as long as you're giving details, you're giving real examples, that will definitely, make them really believe that just because you met briefly doesn't mean that you're actually you're not like a real relationship. The next important item was writing a check of $535 US. So here my fiance wrote in a check of $535. The next step was mailing all these documentations to the USCIS. So my fiance mailed it on the 4th of May 2022 using the US Postal Services. He paid extra money for overnight shipping, and it was received by the USCIS the following day. On 13th May 2022, which is about 9 days after mailing the petition, we received our first NOA, which is the I-179C from the USCIS by mail on 30th May 2023, which is now a year plus a few weeks later. We got our second NOA, our second notice of action, which is the I-1797 form, just telling us that our petition had been approved and that they had forwarded our papers to the National Visa Center, the NVC. On the next video, I will take you through on what happened next. So please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.